Welcome to another DK Custom Products video. I'm Dwayne and this is Kevin.
And today we're going to talk about a frequently asked question, which is,
what are the differences in the DK Outlaw air cleaners? Before we get started, I'd appreciate if you guys would like, comment, and subscribe. Now, before we talk about the differences, let's talk about what is similar. So all of our air cleaners have the DK Custom lifetime warranty. They all use a K&N high flow filter element. They all use an external breather system. So they negate that hot, oily, oxygen depleted gas that vents from the crankcase, that vents into the intake when you're using a stock air cleaner, and many of the big name aftermarkets that are subject to EPA compliance. They vent internally. That robs performance. It affects engine longevity. And the Outlaw air cleaners, they just don't do that. And that applies to every air cleaner we make.
and we have a bonus at the end, so stay to the end. We have a bonus at the end on an air cleaner that doesn't use the K&N filter.
Exactly. So when you go on our website, you look under the air cleaner section for your particular model, you'll find several different options. And they all range in a vastly different aesthetic, shape, size, and that equates to the performance they'll produce for you. The first on the list is going to be the 425. It's a much smaller, classic design seen here. Then we have the 587, very low profile. In fact, lowest profile Harley air cleaner on the market today. Next step up, 606. Very similar to the Outlaw Big Sucker, the Screaming Eagle, as far as the filter element, but where this one stands out, of course, it vents externally. And then there's also some benefits to the backplate design that will edge out the wind in performance comparison to, say, for example, the Outlaw Big Sucker.
And we'll put a video that we did just on that subject up in the corner.
And then next on the list, the 828. It's an oval shape. It's not the classic round shape. So it has the capacity for more air intake volume while being low profile. So that's my favorite thing about it, bringing a lot of air, and it's not obstructive to your leg clearance. And then we move on to the big dog, the big performer, the 636V. The forward-facing design, the elbow of this intake system creates a Venturi effect, feeds your engine more air than it can eat, and it has a multitude of filter element options.
And we did not, in this comparison, we did not look at the 425 because the 425 starts starving out a twin cam at around 4,000 RPM. It just doesn't flow enough air. It's great for sporties. It works fine on 88s and 96s, but on the 103, it starts starving it a bit. So we didn't even do that comparison.
And that's that smaller system I listed at the beginning. Great for sportsters, not so great for the big displacement 103s. Definitely not even available for the M8s. Just not enough airflow. So we're not even going to include this in our testing results. But the first one we tested was the 587.
These tests were done on a 2012 Heritage 103. We can see at the very beginning up till about 2,800 RPM, the torque lines are about the same. But then starting around 3,000 RPM all the way through, you can see that the torque keeps climbing, whereas with the stock air cleaner, the torque started dropping. It peaked at 2,700 and then it started dropping, whereas with the 587 it kept climbing and it stayed higher than the stock all the way through the whole RPM band. And remember, on a twin cam, you don't even really want to be getting on the throttle until you're at 2,800 RPM minimum, preferably 3,000.
Right, and then something else to note here for those of you that have really heavy hands on that throttle and like to see horsepower after 52 RPM, you'll notice it even carried the horsepower up higher and longer.
Right. So next up on the list is the 606. Generally, we see the 606 performing about the same as the 587.
Yeah, there's not much of a discernible difference as far as what you feel. Obviously, if you were to compare them on a dyno, the 606 might edge out the wind. But, you know, if you're on the fence between choosing the 587 or the 606, choose whichever one is aesthetically pleasing to you. You know, if you want to run whatever cover, including stock or a lot of the Screaming Eagle aftermarket covers on the 606, that might be the best option for you. If you want more leg clearance, however, that's going to be the 587.
Right, so on the 606, we can see that from all the way through the entire RPM band, the 606 was significantly better performer, both in torque and in horsepower, all the way through the RPM band, and did actually quite a bit better than the 587 on this bike. It's definitely better than stock, and by the only thing that was changed, you know, we did these runs one right after another. So the only thing that was changed between these runs was the air cleaner. So that's a pretty significant, people tell you, oh, you put a stage 1 air cleaner on, it doesn't make that much difference. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and we say it all the time, not all stage 1 air cleaners are created equally, and this is a prime example. All right, and then now moving on to the 828. As I said previously in the video, it's a larger capacity, it's oval shaped, but it's not intrusive to your leg, so it's really low profile. And these charts indicate that it does in fact bring in much more air. And now in these charts, you'll see that the power band rises and carries much farther than stock. In fact, it's about 10% higher. Most importantly, where we ride, in the riding RPM range, right here as you see on the screen. And again, this is the 828 air cleaner. In my opinion, this is my favorite system we offer. I run it on my Milwaukee 8. I know you've had it on your twin cam and your M8 as well. You know, to me, it's the best of both worlds. It gives you peak performance, it's low profile, it looks great, there's a lot of cover options for it. To me, this is the best of the best.
Yeah, and you can see just on this particular bike that you're in the low 80s for a good part of your riding power band, and you're in the mid 90s for a good part of the band with the 828.
Right, so a 10% increase in power overall.
Over 10%.
You can't beat that.
But definitely a good air cleaner. And you're right, it is much more comfortable with that thing tucked in, not sticking out very far.
Now, next we're on to the big house peak performer, the 636V. And you'll notice in comparison to stock, it went from under 90 foot-pounds of torque to knocking on 100.
Right.
You know, just from an air cleaner swap.
Right, and the patented design increases the flow of air through there, through the Venturi effect. It's just a really solid performer. We have people running these on their 131s, very happy with them.
Right.
And it's just a strong, strong performer. It is a different look. And that's why I've had it on, I have it on my Sportster. I have had it on the Softail. It just didn't match the nostalgic look of the Softail.
Right. For you Dyno bros out there, perfect. Works perfectly. Works good on the Dyno, works great on a sporty Sportster. Not so much on a Heritage Classic, but you know, to each their own. Now, remember when we said we had a bonus system for you that's not exactly an air filter, but it is part of an intake system. It offers exceptional styling, I think, so it looks good. Gives it a really utilitarian look, but great for performance as well.
Yeah, and that's the Velocity Stack. And the Velocity Stack is something that we redesigned recently. And so we've retested it. You can see here on the chart that both the torque band and the horsepower band are higher all the way through. And we're talking about roughly a 9 to 10% increase in horsepower and torque using the Velocity Stack over the factory. Now the Velocity Stack does not, you can run it either open, which a lot of our customers do at the drags, but you can also get a screen for it, and you can get a screen with a filter element inside of it. And it does cut down on the power some when you put that filter element inside of it, because it interrupts the flow. But it's a straight in flow, and you can see it performs very, very well.
Right.
So to wrap it up, the 587 is better than the stock air cleaner. The 606 is better. The 828 is better. The 636V is better, and the Velocity Stack. They're all better than the OEM air cleaner, and you'll have a stable tune. Your bike will like it because it's not building up carbon on it, and it's one of the best bangs for the buck, because you're talking in the $200 to $300 range, depending on what kind of cover you choose.
Right.
And it can go on an M8. We're talking about twin cams now, but it can go on an M8 without even having to tune it. On a twin cam, you do need to have a tune, but a twin cam needs to have a tune,
Right.
even if it's stock.
Twin cam and Sportster, yeah.
It's just too lean.
Right, and again, they are equipped with an external breather system, a bolt-on external breather system, no holes to drill, no threads to tap. You just bolt it on right to the heads. Very clean, aesthetic look.
We hope you all enjoyed the video. You might want to go back to the air cleaner you like best, get to that dyno chart and pause it. The numbers are not the big deal because every bike is going to produce different numbers. Every dyno is going to produce different numbers. But the difference between the numbers is what's important.
Right.
And you can go back and look and see what difference you can expect to see when switching from your stock air cleaner to one of these.
Yeah. Now, we will have a link in the description to all of these air cleaners below. If you have any questions about fitment to your bike, shoot me an email to support@dkcustomproducts.com.
Y'all ride safe out there.